Welcome to the Goat's Gravy, the ultimate podcast tailored for young professionals navigating the dynamic world of sales and sales leadership. We are here to serve up a blend of mentorship and advice. In each episode, we dive deep into conversations with accomplished leaders and rising stars in the sales industry. Together, we explore their triumphs, challenges, and invaluable experiences. Our goal? To distill their insights into practical lessons that can seamlessly integrate into your own career journey. So whether you're a seasoned sales expert or just starting out, join us as we ladle out wisdom and inspiration, empowering you to excel in the ever-evolving landscape of sales. Onward we go. Scotty, man, how you doing?
I'm great, Billy. Great to see you again.
Great to see you. Here we are, episode 2. We've got a great guest today. I'm going to jump right into it. Those glasses new?
Yeah, you like them?
I don't.
We haven't started yet, have we?
Yeah, we're starting. This is live.
Oh, beautiful.
Okay, here we go. We've got a great guest today. It is with great enthusiasm that I welcome an incredible young talent. At just 20 years old, he's proven to be the epitome of ambition and drive. His journey began at 16 years old when he sought mentorship, specifically in the field of sales. You fast forward to his sophomore year in college, he's not only excelled in 2 significant sales roles, but he's also taken a bold step of launching his very own company. When he's not studying or selling, Paul loves to hang out with his buddies. He's a boxer. He likes to fish. I don't know what else I'm leaving out. He'll fill us in. He is the son to 2 incredible parents, John and Kelly. Their rising star and the CEO of Broadway Lending. Please welcome Mr. Paul Knox. Paul, great to see you.
Yeah, Billy, Scott, thanks for having me. Definitely honored for the opportunity to discuss with 2 guys who have definitely been vital in my success so far.
Well, dude, thank you so much. And let's just start out by telling you how proud of you we are. We've been engaged with you for a long time, and everything you've done has just demonstrated your tenacity to fight through life and put yourself in a position of success. And you're having a significant impact on others, your peer group. And so super proud of you. We're going to dive right in and we're going to go deep. So Paul was an incredible athlete in high school. He still is an incredible athlete. But Paul also faced some serious adversities during his high school years that impacted his sports career. He had some health challenges. And Paul, if you're open to kind of sharing that story, the big question is, how have you leveraged that adversity to kind of feed your drive and ambition that you have at such a young age?
Right. It's my best post on LinkedIn is about how my open heart surgery turned me into the best salesman that I could be. So yeah, I was a sophomore in high school. I had a problem with my pericardium. It surrounds the heart, and I had to get it removed. So I'm sure if you're familiar with the medical industry, you've heard of the Mayo Clinic. I had one of the top open heart surgeons, for lack of a better word, working on me. And it was a truthfully painful experience, right? So, I work really hard. A lot of the stuff I do is very difficult, but it doesn't compare to that time in my life. That's true pain, and it's not just mental pain. It's physical pain that leads to mental pain. And it also completely takes you out of life. You're very inactive. You're forced to sit on the couch, watch TV, and play video games. And that's probably a huge reason that I don't really do either of those things today. That I got all of that out of my system during that period of time in my life.
Paul, question to follow that up. So when you're cold calling, sales is tough, right? It's not for everybody.
Right.
Do you think back to that time when you had the open heart surgery, and do you reflect back on it, and do you kind of compare it to what you're doing now, and does that impact you still today?
It doesn't. It doesn't. It instilled the work ethic and ideologies that I have. I don't spend too much time reminiscing on the past. I'm very set towards what's next and looking into the future.
Awesome.
That's great. Well, maybe from bridging from that to getting your first sales job, I guess maybe take us through the actual sales journey. You started seeking out mentors at a young age at 16, right. But really what led to that first selling role?
Right. The first sales job as a kid, everyone loved sports. I love sports cards. right? So I went to a card shop and I was like, how do I work here? How do I bring value here? And the card shop I went to had a license to distribute products, meaning they could work with some of the top distributors. A lot of the other card shops, as the market was kind of blowing up, did not have said distributor's license. There was a lot of mom and pop card shops opening up, right? So I recognized the opportunity, pitched myself to the company with the license to sell their over purchased product door to door to newer and different card shops. Looking back, I knew absolutely nothing about sales. Nobody taught me how to sell at that point. And it wouldn't be till later on in my career that I actually learned how to sell in any way, shape, or form, which is why I believe I'm so good at sales today, because I figured everything out by myself. I didn't hear somebody take it or say something and take them at their word. I figured these lessons out and understand why they work and when they work.
So speaking of that, what specifically do you do? Like, how'd you get that training? How'd you absorb all that information and start to apply it?
So my second sales job was vending machines, very short role. I was giving my pitch for a vending machine, which led to my third job, which was at a dental refinery. We bought gold teeth, melted them, the gold teeth from dentists. They pulled out of their mouth. Crazy job, right? Very competitive.
It's very different.
My boss at that time, a mentor for sure, still in my life, was Kevin McKay. He was under the ideology that I would have my own styles and I would figure it out myself as he had. I could not be more grateful that I didn't have somebody hand me a script. I didn't have somebody say, hey, do this, this, and this is what's going to happen, right? So I went in door to door, tried a million different things. And Mr. Shaw, me and you actually connected. It was at a pancake house. I was a beginning of my senior year in high school, right? And it really, truly was, honest to God, a pivotal experience where I realized, man, this dude, he knows some stuff, right? Like I didn't know any of these things.
Paul, that's questionable. That's questionable, Paul.
Hold on, let him keep going.
I am, but I just had to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of the things was, for starters, stop listening to music, right? When you're going to these different dentists and driving, put on an audiobook. So the first audio.
I can't believe you actually listened, by the way. And I got that advice when I was early in my medical device career. Someone asked me what I was listening to between sales calls, and I said sports radio, and they said, no, don't do that. Get a book on tape. At my time, book on tape, CD on tape. I don't know what it was, but listen to things or reach out to other people while you're driving, the best reps to get advice and learn. Right. So it's awesome to see that you that knowledge goes forward.
Right. I mean, let's just go through the three. You gave me really three big lessons there. Practice your pitch more when you're in the shower, right? You're cooking breakfast, you're on the toilet. Practice your pitch. Go over it again and again. Find out what works, what doesn't work. And then 3, you gave me a book, The Challenger Sale, right? Which is I think, institutional book for any beginning sales reps. It's longer, so it doesn't really fit the genre. That I would want kind of my guys to read. It's harder to read. It does talk about what an actual sale is, identifying pain points, providing solutions, right? Rather than something like The Way of the Wolf, which again is probably one of the most impactful books that I read in that time, which is more about how to make the sale, right? Rather than what makes a good sales rep.
So Paul, your parents are entrepreneurs. Like your dad's an entrepreneur. Right. I view your mom as an entrepreneur. I know your grandparents are entrepreneurs. For our audience is sometimes thinking, I may go into college. Like you started your sales career in high school, right? And then it's still going on. Now you own your own company at 20 years old. Right. So how do you look at, making that choice of, do I be an entrepreneur and go into college and start my own company, or do I double down in college and work? Because you've been in and out of that flow for 3 years now. How do you view that?
Right. It's the decision of, do I want to set my own hours? If you want to set your own hours, don't start your own company. Work at a job where you can tell them how many hours you want to work. If you want your company to set your own hours, meaning you wake up at 7:30 and you have missed calls from 7 a.m. and you go to bed at 12 and you're on the phone till 11:45, then you can start your own company, right? Because you're going to have to figure out every pain point. You're going to have to put out every fire, and you're going to have to be super creative to find solutions to problems. You are the plan B. Everything relies on you. If you can't provide what the company needs, then the company fails. Obviously, you have to be super willing to take on the stress on a day-by-day situation, and it's never guaranteed that the results are going to yield themselves.
Hey, PK. So last year as a freshman,
Right.
you got a sales job and a full-time sales job. Maybe walk us through that experience and how you balanced your time with academics as well as selling. And then from there, I'd like to hear a little bit about, I know you had a really impressive boss that you learned a lot from. So maybe a couple key lessons you took away from that relationship.
Right. So going into my freshman year, I got a job at G-Parency, commercial mortgage broker. Very, very competitive. The industry itself is very competitive. So I was in school, full-time student, while quote unquote working at G-Parency part-time. I wasn't a part-time worker. I worked over 40 hours nearly every week. And it was huge for my confidence. I was the only college student working there, and I made more calls than anybody else. So it taught me the lesson that if you make more calls, you will succeed, and that a lot of sales reps won't succeed because they won't make the calls. It's not about how much time you have. I'm in school. I'm not just working at G-Parency. I was the number one sales rep every single month after my third month, doing it part-time. And
sorry, real quick, just one follow-up on that. That's incredible, by the way. So congratulations. That's outstanding. Talk a little bit about your boss and how he helped you kind of elevate yourself so quickly and how you applied that.
Right. So my boss, his name is Ira Zlotowicz. There's 5 pages worth of Google articles on him. He's a billionaire. His time is very, very valuable, and it's very hard to get him to speak with you. Obviously, the first thing I had to do was catch his eye. And personally, I'm astonished when I hire a sales rep and on day one, they don't go 50 calls over their quota. How else are you going to prove yourself in the beginning? You can't expect to make sales in your first month. So what you have to do to impress the executives is make more calls. And that was always my philosophy was I'm not going to show him how talented I am. I'm going to show him how hard I can work. And I got very talented because I was willing to work hard. So 5 or 6 months in, the product that we're offering is revolutionary. It changes the industry, which is a very hard sale. Everyone's been doing this process the same way for 100 years. We're saying, hey, here's a new way to do it. Nobody had success selling it prior to me arriving at G-Parency. For months 3 to 5 is when I started to have some success, and then I developed the script. If we go back to my time at Mid-States, the advice Mr. Shaw gave me, right? I had listened to that book, The Way of the Wolf. I developed a script at Mid-States Recycling, and it changed everything for me, right? I figured out every sale's the same. I just got to follow the script. I did the same thing at G-Parency. I started to present that to the sales team. Like, hey, guys, this has been working for me. Maybe you guys should try it. It started to work for other people, right? And as I was the top guy on the leaderboard, the company was changing month after month. A startup changes more than you can imagine. There's always new products, new features, right? So every single time there was a change, I would make a new pitch. I'd go to Ira, and then I would bring back the results. The best way to prove yourself is when these really brilliant guys have an idea. The value I can bring is execution, is implementation. They're visionaries. So when he has an idea, I don't say, oh, Ira, here's my thoughts. I say, okay, Ira, let me call you tomorrow at 4 p.m. with results from the 100 calls that I made testing out this new idea. And that's why everyone else is complaining, oh, Ira, I don't think it's going to work. Ira, I don't know if it's going to work, but let me show you. Let me not just talk out my rear end, and let me get you actual results.
So, Paul, Billy and I always talk how impressed we are with your ability and your drive, right? So you're trying to break down and share with our audience key attributes for young salespeople. One, I'm hearing you loud and clear. You got to make more calls than anybody.
Right.
You're making more calls while you're in college than full-time employees. There's got to be more to it than just making calls. So what else have you learned besides, I'm hearing drive, I'm hearing energy, I'm hearing making calls. Can you consolidate that down to a couple things for our audience as they consider a sales career?
Of course, I can't take credit for it because um, a lot of what I love Jordan Belfort's ideology on the sales process. So I don't want to repeat some of the stuff he said and take credit for it, and then I'm going to give credit to the source, right? So you have 4 seconds to take control of the client's subconscious mind. When I'm hiring a sales rep, he has 4 seconds. If I don't like him after 4 seconds, then the client's not going to like him after 4 seconds. He'll never make a sale. Okay, so if the client needs to think you're sharp as a tack, you're enthusiastic as hell. It's bottled enthusiasm. It's not the over the top BS. Client's going to smell it. What you need is the client to hear your enthusiasm and know what this guy has must be good. Otherwise, it sounds like you've been rejected for 10 calls in a row, right? And 3, you're an expert in your field. We listen to experts, right? When a doctor asks you questions, you answer. When a doctor provides solutions, you take them to the grave. So your client needs to view you as that expert. That allows you to take control of the sale and go where you want to go. Young sales reps can really use that if they have the confidence. And when they call me for the first time, it's like, oh, hey, Paul, I heard you're with Broadway. How's it going? I hear their energy and I hear they're ready to bring it.
Dude, that's awesome. So one thing that stands out to me is just your belief in yourself. We always talk about, at least I talk often with my sales organization, that you got to believe in yourself and the skills you bring to the table. You have to believe in the product you're representing, the people you're working with, and the vision of where you're going, right? So now that you've walked into this new arena of starting your own company, maybe just share a little bit about what's going to be different about running your own firm versus just a year ago you were selling for someone else.
Right. It's a somewhat of a common theme that the top 1% of mortgage brokers are going to leave and start their own shop. It's a completely different animal. I have an ability to sell and persuade. Now, when you start your own shop, you always have to think about what's my pitch against the shop that I'm leaving. And at the end of the day, G-Parency is going to have the stronger track record, more deals done. So starting my own shop, you have to be super, super flexible and creative. The pitch you come up with isn't going to work. You need reasons for people to buy your service and buy your product. The reason people use me is because I work harder. I move faster. I'm very impatient. I think patience kills sales. I think urgency is the best trait a salesman could have. Right? I say to my clients all the time that I am so impatient. It's terrible for my personal life, but there's never been a better trait when I'm trying to find you alone. Right?
So Paul, one just follow up to that. How do you differentiate yourself and now your new brand from others that are out there? It sounds like obviously it's being transparent with the customer, but what else goes into that?
Yeah, I work harder. I move faster. I'm not one of the biggest shops in the country that's going to take 2 days to put together a deal. It's hard to explain without going into the specifics, but basically I'm a one-man machine, right? I'm going to be up till 2:30 on the phone with you. I'm going to have you results tomorrow. And here's how I close all my clients. When a normal mortgage broker gets a deal, they take, again, 2 days to put together a loan package and send it to the banks. I say, Mr. Client, I'm going to hang up the phone. I'm going to make 10 calls to banks that I know that I have personal relationships with, and I'm going to have you a soft quote within the hour, right? If you go with one of the bigger guys, you're waiting 3 days for a soft quote. I'll have you a term sheet in 2 days, right? The only way to make that happen is to genuinely work harder, because I'm up till 2:30 to get that soft quote, right? It's impossible to compete with me unless you're willing to put in the hours that I'm willing to put in.
Excellent. And before we transition, Paul, to mentorship, which is another area that I think you're really, really strong in, seeking advice.
Right.
We had George Chinin on recently, and he was talking about the biggest lessons he's learning are from the mistakes he's made.
Yes.
Right. So you're young in your sales career. Can you pick out one mistake that you made where you really learned something from that you're gonna pivot on moving into the future?
Right. When you think about the Jordan Belfort style of sales, you think of the shove it down your throat. For the first 2 years of my sales career, heading into G-Parency throughout mid-states, it was about the pitch. It was about the sale. How well could I present this product? The pivot, what really took things to the next level was, how can I identify pain points? How can I understand the product better? I need to stop pitching to people who can't value from what I'm offering and spend my time on qualified clients. I need to have them tell me that they're qualified through my questions. My questions have them say that they need my product. And then I say, okay, great. That's what we're offering. Right. So now I set myself up. They have no idea it's a sales call. Well, they know it's a sales call from the introduction, but I haven't tried to sell them until I know I'm a good fit for them.
Makes sense.
Hey, so Paul, transitioning to mentorship. Obviously, you've been very proactive with leveraging your network and reaching out. Your follow-up with us too is outstanding. You keep us in the loop. Maybe what's 2 or 3 points that you could give to our audience that maybe people that are in college right now looking to get into sales, or if they're just starting into a sales roles, what maybe 2 or 3 points around what mentorship has meant to you and how you'd advise them?
I'd say the biggest piece of advice is to you shouldn't really be talking to mentors. So this is a very interesting situation because you guys have been in the position of mentors to me, and I've used a lot of these philosophies and these strategies on you guys, so we can see how they were received. Let me ask you, a lot of the stories that I've told today, right? Did you know them? Is a lot of this news to you? It's somewhat newer.
I would say I've heard some of them, but not everything. When we prepped this morning, we were talking about the adversity, and I totally forgot that. I obviously was around. You played lacrosse with my son, and I remember that, but I didn't really relate it back to how you'd leverage the adversity, right? To have, to create the salesperson you are today, the entrepreneur you are today, the CEO you are today. So I really didn't, connect the two.
Well, the reason I ask is you shouldn't know about my career and my progress and my accolades. You should have no idea how successful I've been if I'm trying to have you as my mentor, because you guys care and the mentor might care, but you have to act like they don't care. I'm not bringing you value by telling you how successful I was last week or how many sales I made last month. You're bringing me value with your time. I'm not going to waste your time telling you stories and trying to woo you, right? You're going to know that I'm a potentially future successful individual by the questions I ask you, not the statements I make. You're not going to think I'm successful because I tell you I'm successful. There's better ways to show it. And really the best advice is to just shut up, right? Talk as little as possible and just keep people talking.
You hear that?
Yeah, did you?
I got to take the advice too.
I'm always listening. That's great, man. And I think, as you're advising others, I think the big message I got from that was be thoughtful and genuine with what you want to know. And when you're reaching out to people in your network, it's amazing what you can pick up on and what people are willing to share. There's so many people that have been successful and they want to give back, they want to share, and not enough people go out and get mentors. And that never stops. We're well beyond our years of selling and even into leadership. I still have mentors to this day I go to all the time. So tell us a little bit about what are you doing to give back and mentor others now as you're starting to find success so early in your career?
Right. With my company specifically, when there's somebody who, when they were going through the hiring process, my hiring guy came to me, he's like, Paul, this dude's texting us too much. Right. I'll take that kid on. I'll make sure that I'm there to make sure he's successful. Or the kid who makes 170 calls the first day. People that are like-minded to me. I don't think I have as many direct mentees outside of my job, but yeah.
Yeah. I can tell you, Paul, like your follow-up in sales is oftentimes about how quickly you follow up, but it's follow up with purpose. And I'll give you an example. You and I chatted about something. I gave you a piece of advice. You texted me
exactly
like live how you leverage that advice. Exactly. And then you put a green circle around it. I don't know how you did that, but nice work. And then you said, this is exactly how I implemented it. I don't know, Billy, if you feel this way, but when you take the time to give back, they listen, and then they come back to you with how they've leveraged that. That gives you and I think, the satisfaction that we're actually adding value, Paul, and that would give me a higher probability to spend more time with you. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
100%. And there's a lot of people that we'll talk to. You have friends that the kids are trying to figure out what they want to do, and they'll reach out. You might have an hour conversation with someone and then maybe never hear from them again. It means a lot more to me when you spend time with someone and they do follow up with you. Not only follow up, you want to see follow up, period, because it's part of what you have to do in sales consistently at every level. But it's important to let people know. There's a great book I read early in my career called Never Eat Alone, and it was all about networking and just keeping people up to speed with what you're doing, and that served me very well in my career. So I think that's an important one. Hey, PK, before we kind of transition to our quick hits with Dimitri, maybe just talk about some of the resources that you leverage for development, whether it's books, podcasts, anyone you really look up to in the selling arena that you think our audience should pay attention to.
Right. Your biggest leverage is the top sales rep or the top, 4 or 5 sales reps at the company. Salesmen love to talk about how they sell. I always say the reason is because then they're not making cold calls, right? So they would rather be telling you about how good they are at cold calls than cold calling. So you can really use that. The exchange of value is, let's use you guys, for example. If I give you gratitude, just like you said, if I show you appreciation, you might be willing to exchange time and knowledge for that. And that's a big thing. You gave me 2 or 3 books. The Little Red Book of Selling. It's amazing. It's huge.
Yep.
That
was one of my first reads. Yeah.
It's really good. It's really good. Books about creativity and humor. So I've reading so many sales books, right? Sales is all about being creative. If you can make someone laugh, you've made the sale. So read more books about comedy and how to actually use it, the science behind comedy. It's a huge thing to take you to the next level. The Challenger Sale, and then The Way of the Wolf. The Way of the Wolf on audiobook, because Jordan Belfort talks about tonality, how to punctuate, right? When you're saying a statement, you don't say a question tone. Otherwise, subconsciously, the client's going to reject you. So the audiobook for The Way of the Wolf allows you to hear how he presents and how he puts into practice the principles he writes about.
And Paul, before we get to the quick hits, Billy, in our prep this morning, you mentioned something to me that is so mature for somebody your age, and it's about productivity. And I was asking you some questions about how are you so productive, and you were mentioning what you do during the week versus the weekends as it relates to partying. And I'm not here to say, hey, people shouldn't drink, people shouldn't smoke. That's not my point. But it's more interesting coming from you and how you view that. And do you mind sharing with our audience kind of your philosophy around what you do during the week versus the weekends?
I'm 20, in college, living right next to a fraternity. I have endless options to drink on the weekdays. This comes from the Little Red Book of Selling. Sales reps are very social, right? It's going to be challenging for a successful sales rep, more than likely young in his career, not to drink during the weekdays, especially if he doesn't have a family, wife, girlfriend, whatever it is. If he's really motivated towards work, if he communicates exceptionally well, people are going to be inviting him out. Don't drink during the weekdays. Save it for the weekends, right? You should spend your nights prepping for your next day selling. And then this way, when you wake up, you already know who your top 10 leads for the day are. You already have your cold calls lined up. You have your day scheduled. You have your meetings prepared. You're 3 steps ahead of everyone else.
Awesome.
That's great. All right, let's roll over to Dimitri, who's going to do some quick hits with you.
What's going on, Paul? How's it going, man?
Dimitri, I'm doing amazing. How are you?
Love everything you've had to say. I'd like to shift our focus to what we like to call the quick hit section. And really, these are just practical strategies and skills that you've found to be instrumental in your career so far. And I believe they're going to offer actionable takeaways for everybody tuning in. So in this section, we're going to explore a few key areas. 1, networking, preparation, prospecting, interviewing, negotiation, social selling, and self-development. And so we'd love to hear your domain. So you ready to jump in?
Of course. Amazing.
Let's do it. So let's start off with networking. Could you share a specific story or example of how networking has directly impacted your career or project you were involved in?
Right. I don't want to offend anyone listening, but I think it's a crazy question to ask how you find networking events. Look up on Google networking events near me, and you'll have a list of 100 that day. So during the summer, I went to networking events after 6 o'clock every single day. Real estate networking events to find clients. It's impractically amazing how far you get, the relationships you build outside of even just finding clients through networking events. LinkedIn is huge. Take a LinkedIn class.
Totally. Awesome. Preparation and follow up, right? This is what we've been talking about this entire episode. Obviously, that's a skill set you have, and I think you can add some value. What's your go-to method for ensuring that you're well prepared for important meetings, and how do you follow up to make sure those interactions are more effective?
It's definitely doing your research, know what's, you're going into the meeting with. Follow up is really where I make my money. It comes from Mr. Atwater and just harping on same day follow ups. But as soon as I get off the phone with the client, they have an email with all my information, my background. They have a text asking if they've received the email saying, "Hey, it was great speaking with you." By 5 o'clock at the end of that day, if they haven't answered, it's, "Hey, didn't hear back from you. Really enjoyed earlier today. Let's touch base early tomorrow." Right? The next day, I'm following up again with a call. So when I have my cold calls, I call somebody 3 times in a week. And yes, they answer all the time. Like, "Dude, never call me again, please." And I say, "Okay, great. I'm going to fight for you, though." Imagine how many times I call a bank with your deal, right? If I'm just cold calling you this many times.
Love it.
Over follow up is my principle.
Beautiful.
That's great.
Love that. So let's move to prospecting. In your experience, what's a prospecting strategy that has consistently yielded positive results in identifying new customers?
9 to 11 a.m., 100 cold calls. If you haven't brought in one deal, then you make cold calls so you find a deal, and then you can go into your follow-ups.
Boom.
He's got a process. Yeah, you got to love that.
Definitely.
Right on. Interviewing. So obviously you're building your company. What's like a quality or skill that you're looking for that makes like an interview really memorable and almost like you're ready to take the next step with that person after?
It's probably a super unique answer you won't hear, but again, they have 4 seconds, right? When I present myself, it's "Hey, Billy, Paul Knox, calling with Broadway. Billy, how's it going today?" Genuine question. You can hear my energy and enthusiasm. I've told Billy in 4 seconds that I want to be here and that he wants to speak with me. So that's what I'm looking for.
I'm just glad you stopped calling me Mr. Shaw. Thank you for that.
I'm older than you, Billy.
Okay.
All right, negotiation, right? This is like when you're kind of in that process. You're ready. You're about to close the deal. Let's talk about a success story right quick. What was your approach that led to a significant outcome in negotiation for you?
So we have very unique negotiations. My job is to find my clients loans, right? So we're negotiating at every step of the way. I have to go negotiate with the client and say, "Hey, the banks can only offer this." And I have to go to the bank and say, "Dude, my client can't take that, right? He needs this." So it's back and forth. Obviously, lowballing first, right? Put out what you want. I think you always have butterflies. I'm very far into my sales career. Negotiating, throwing out an offer that I know is going to get rejected, but it's what my client wants, right? If he wants it, that's what I'm asking for. I don't care if I'm getting rejected. It can be super nerve wracking, but you just have to do it. You never know. And there are times. So a bank will charge a 2% origination fee. 2% of the total deal they need upfront. Whatever it is, it's very negotiable, right? So you can easily get that down to 1%. There's a lot of things on the loan. Every deal, every day, we have hundreds of negotiations.
Right on. Let's move to social selling, right? This is obviously, we're in 2023. Obviously, people are going to be listening to this from years and years. Social selling is always going to be a thing. Let's talk about a deal or partnership that started through social selling. What did you do right to make that happen?
Right. And could you define social selling a bit for me?
We're talking social media, really anything through the internet, and building a brand.
So, I think every sales rep should play off his strengths. I'm going to talk about one of the guys I worked with. His name's Michael Eller, right? I only made cold calls to Jeep Arency because that's what mortgage brokers had done. Michael Eller, a lot of the other company, only used LinkedIn, right? So he was nearly just as successful as I was through social media. And what he did was just constant interaction, constant posting, constant keeping up with the community, cold reach out, messages. It's all about the time you spent. Social selling, I think, can be a huge distraction for a lot of people. If you're just scrolling through LinkedIn and you're not doing it right, you can go engage with 10 posts, but do that quickly and then go send 10 messages, follow 10 people, put up the post, 35 minutes you're off it. Well, however much time you want to spend, but it has to be productive. And it's easy not to be with the distracting stories on the social media.
Absolutely. And then the last piece is self-development. Obviously, just after just hearing you've got some serious discipline. Let's even like zoom back, right? So Billy and Scott are a little bit older. Now let's take
a little bit.
Let's add 20 years. What are you going to be telling somebody your age what they need to be doing to make a noticeable impact on their professional growth?
Right. Discipline's definitely a big one. Healthy personal habits, working out, eating correctly. It doesn't seem as important as it is. When I got flooded with work, it's definitely something that took second priority. It didn't work out as much, and your stress levels very quickly can get to a point where you don't want them. So maintaining those, having healthy processes for releasing stress is really pivotal in being successful and having discipline, right? And avoiding burnout.
Right on.
That's great, man. Hey, so listen, as we wrap this up, PK, and we're going to ask you to come back. We're going to want to update on the business, but maybe last question, unless Scotty has one more. Where should we see you, or what do you expect things to look like 3 to 5 years from now with your new company?
It'll be very, very interesting. We are going into a different time in the economy that's looking somewhat like 2009. I've pivoted. I work on a lot of tougher deals. If you need a broker to fight for you, right? You need someone who's going to make more calls, send more emails. It's a tougher situation to get done. That's when I'm your guy. And I started marketing myself like that 2 months ago. So I've personally never been more active as a mortgage broker. I have more deals on my desk than 99% of brokers do in a normal market. And this is in an economy with 60% less volume than a year ago. So personally, I can pivot. I can take advantage of opportunities no matter where those opportunities present themselves. Right now, I'm taking care of foreclosure situations. So my clients have loans. The bank says, hey, we're going to take the property if you can't pay us back. Right? That's when you call me. And I've been very flexible. I've been very creative in figuring out ways to get my clients restructure their debt and get them out of bad situations. And in 3 years, I am going much heavier towards recruiting and training. My mentor, Ira Zlotowicz, is definitely hammering down that I should not be trying to service my own book of business anymore. I can only scale so much by finding and closing clients myself. And I have talent in sales, and I have talent to get people to come sell for me. And that's where I need to be spending my time. So moving forward, that's what the future looks like. I still will be making cold calls because I love cold calls, right?
That's awesome. I don't really have a question necessarily for you, Paul. I just, for our audience out there, at 20 years old, Paul Knox is the bar, Billy. I haven't seen someone, and this isn't to make your head even bigger because I can still see it in the screen.
It's clearly. It's confident.
But I think you're setting the bar. You're setting the bar with your energy at your age. You're setting the bar with the ability to make cold calls for your age, your maturity. I mean, the fact that you're making comments around not drinking during the week as a college student. I was not following that, Billy, myself, and neither were you. I know you pretty well. But I'm just super impressed. And it's a small network of A players. Like the A players like to hang with A players. Right. So you are that might be my new nickname for you. Paulie the Bar Knox. And I'm just super, super impressed. And what I'd like, and the reason why I think Billy, Dimitri, myself like to give back and be mentors is because whatever we're going to come to you with, right, those that absorb will end up giving it back to someone else, right? And that circle of A players will continue to expand and we'll all help each other. So I just more of a statement, thank you. right? Thanks. We love communicating with you, and it is a two-way street. We're learning, right? We're old dogs, but we're willing to learn some of these new tricks because we're going to give that back to our people as well. So Billy, not a question, more of a statement.
No, that's awesome, PK. We're just obviously really proud of you and excited to see where you go. There's no doubt you're going to be successful and have a significant impact on others. So, dude, thank you so much for taking time to spend with us, and we'll get you back here again in the future. So have a great
studio.
Yeah, we'll get you back in studio under construction right now, but looking forward to hosting you. So, man, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, the bar.
Yeah, love we really appreciate the time. Love the show.
And that brings us to the end of another episode of The Goat's Gravy. We've shared some awesome insights and strategies aimed at enhancing your journey in sales. And the conversation does not have to stop here. So be sure to follow us on social media at The Goat's Gravy and explore more at thegoatsgravy.com. Your journey towards sales mastery is ongoing, and we're here to support you at every step. So thank you for tuning in today. Stay curious, stay driven, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.